1886, German immigrant Otto Bremer arrived in St. Paul. He proceeded to convince a hardware store to hire him.
One of the great attributes that he had was his perseverance. You have language barriers and all the things he had to deal with. Obviously, he liked to take on work. He wasn't just doing what he had to do, but was looking for new opportunities. And through the course of his lifetime, he seemed to find those opportunities everywhere.
Like his father, Otto became a banker, and his star quickly rose, eventually controlling the American National Bank. In 1929, the Depression gripped the country. While many financiers panicked, Otto became a folk hero to small-town banks, which asked for help.
Otto would take literally cash in hand, hop on the train, go to these communities, and infuse capital into the banks, show a vote of confidence in the banks he believed were the economic engine of these communities.
The most dramatic episode of Mr. Bremer Saves the Day was in Crookston.
Shows up in Crookston and with great drama set up a table right next to the teller line and spread this cash out. And so as people would get to the teller window and they'd say, "I want my deposit," he'd put together the cash and showing everybody that we've got plenty of cash, hand them their money and say, "And what are you going to do with this? Don't you think you want to keep it in a good, safe place?" It became obvious that there was cash available, and the line started to dissipate. People had more important things to do, and they went about their business. Today, Bremer is serving 88 communities with 100+ community banks. And what he's always believed in, and the true legacy, is investing in those communities by putting good people that make their own decisions in those communities.
Estate taxes threatened Otto's community banks in 1944, but necessity is the mother of invention, and the Otto Bremer Foundation was born.
Had he died, we would have had to liquidate roughly 1/3 of his holdings to pay the income tax. With my grandfather's advice and some lawyers, they came up with the idea of, "Otto, why don't you park it in the Otto Bremer Foundation? You don't have to pay taxes. Your legacy will continue. The banks will remain intact. The foundation is set up into perpetuity. It will always be there, and we are never to sell the bank holding company."
Bremer's roots and the tree of generosity that grew are part of his legacy and inspiration.
One of our employees, Javier, who's multilingual, and we were talking one day about the Bremer story. He said, "Otto Bremer was an immigrant, just like me." And I thought to myself, you know, I think that is the story. And that is an inspiration for young people today. That, I mean, this is an example of the American story. If Otto Bremer came back today, it's my belief he'd be incredibly proud.
The banks still are community-based banks, and they still have community leadership, and that is the key. That's the legacy he left behind.
We are now a $7.5 billion bank holding company. Our philanthropic dollars, we grant between $30 and $40 million, growing every year. If Otto came back and looked, he would say, "Well done."